Sometimes life can be stranger than fiction. You don't really need to go to the cinema to watch the wildest plot twists. Life is the craziest scriptwriter there is. So today, we're going to share some unbelievable real-life stories that are true. Hold on to your jaws, this is going to be a wild journey. First up, real-life Beauty and the Beast. Many stories over the centuries have described mythical hybrids, from mermaids to centaurs. But we've also heard less glamorous tales of beasts that actually resemble a human man in many ways, just like the beast from Disney's Beauty and the Beast. In fact, there have been various accounts of a wild ape-like man, from werewolves to Bigfoot. You won't believe what we're going to tell you next. During the 1500s, a guy named Petrus Gonzalez was born on the Canary Islands, and he suffered from a rare condition called hypertrichosis, or werewolf syndrome. You've probably guessed what the condition looks like. Yes, it results in excessive hair growth on the body, including the face. Petrus's face was completely covered in hair, and he was even treated like an animal by the natives. What's even more crazy is they used to keep him in a cage and feed him raw meat. When he was just 10 years old, he was presented to the King of France, Henry II. The king decided to tame him and began to educate him properly. When he saw that Petrus had great intellect, he stopped treating him like a savage and elevated him to the status of nobility. Petrus ended up marrying a beautiful lady from the court, and they even had children together, some of whom had the same genetic condition as him. This only leads us to think that maybe Disney took inspiration from Petrus's life for their movie. Next, we have a premature burial. You might have heard of some cases in which people were buried alive after they were mistaken for being dead. For centuries, insane tales of such corpses screaming from the depths, and some discoveries revealing scratch marks on the insides of coffins have tormented us. In fact, in the Vatican times, people were so afraid of being buried alive that they had to set up bells inside the coffins and attach them to the dead bodies in case they ever awoke. Some historians even think that the phrase "saved by the bell" originated from this practice. Despite the popularity of such safety coffins, there aren't many credible records of people being saved that way. This doesn't mean the stories of people being buried alive aren't true. It's just that they're not as common as they once were. But the craziest part? Such incidents have actually been reported in modern times, with the most recent case of a mistaken death being reported in 2020. What happened was a 32-year-old Kenyan man named Peter Kigan was declared to be dead, but he woke up in the morgue just when the hospital staff was preparing to cremate and drain his blood. Yes, you've heard that right. He actually regained consciousness and started screaming when the staff sliced his leg open. This terrible incident is believed to be the result of negligence from the hospital staff. And now for a creepy doll. If you watch a lot of horror movies, you'll probably be familiar with some of the creepy dolls like Annabelle and Chucky. Those terrifying talkies of toys being possessed are enough to give you nightmares. Now, this story may be too weird for you to believe. Still, here you go. In 1918, a young boy purchased a doll for his little sister named Okiku in Hokkaido, Japan. Okiku and the doll had a similar appearance. Both had the Okappa haircut, which is a bowl cut with hair down to the chin. Okiku used to take the doll everywhere. Unfortunately, she mysteriously passed away a few months later, and the family decided to keep the doll as a shrine. They named her after Okiku and prayed to it regularly. Creeped out already? Now here's the craziest part. Something bizarre happened to the doll. The family noticed that its hair was getting longer day by day. The hair was growing at the same pace as that of an ordinary person. Of course, they were equally terrified as we are right now. Knowing that something was wrong, they decided to give it to the Mananji Temple in Iwamizawa City. The story was so widespread that the scientists had to analyze the doll, and they found out that the hair was, in fact, human hair belonging to a child. If you're intrigued by this story, we have some news for you. You can witness this freaky phenomenon in real life, as the doll is still on display in the same temple. Up next is The Man Who Flew Away with a Balloon Chair. This is the classic trope that most of us have seen in the cartoons, where the character is lifted into the air by sitting on a chair with balloons attached to it. Turns out it does have a real-life story behind it. It was in San Pedro, California, when Larry Walters became the first man to fly using nothing but 45 helium-filled weather balloons and a chair. His plan was to fly across the mountain range all the way to the Mojave Desert. One of his friends filmed the attempt, which can easily be found online, but his attempt was semi-successful. He did manage to reach a height of 16,000 feet in 45 minutes until the balloons got entangled in the power lines. Luckily, he managed to climb down and was unharmed, but law enforcement was waiting for his return, and they immediately arrested him for violating the U.S. federal aviation regulations. Still, he was able to gain worldwide popularity for his insane stunt. Since his attempt in 1982, a lot of people have tried to recreate the same homemade aircraft. witchcraft. Larry's stunt even inspired the 2003 film Danny Deckchair and the intense sport of cluster ballooning. And now for the twins. A well-kept house in a suburban neighborhood in Chattanooga, Tennessee, was occupied by two older men. They were identical twins, but the neighbors hadn't seen the twin brothers in a long time, even though the lawn in the house was always well maintained and their mailbox was never piled up. The last time people from the neighborhood tried to check on them was a few years ago, but they were unable to get entry. Normally, the two kept to themselves. When the police finally forced their way into the house to conduct a welfare check at the request of the locals, they were met with a completely unexpected sight. They found the skeletal remains of the brothers sitting side by side in their chairs. They appeared to have died in the same way as they had lived, in complete isolation. And so they lived silently in each other's company for more than 3 years before they were discovered. You might be wondering there may be something more to the story than it appears. But no, the police found no signs of foul play, which makes this even more creepy. Next is a real corpse as Halloween decoration. One of the most frequent used plots in murder mysteries in film or television is the use of a dead body as a Halloween decoration, which actually turns out to be a real corpse. People pass by it, commenting on how realistic it appears, with none of them realizing that something terrible has happened on the scene. Well, this may be hard to believe in real life. After all, no special effects or excessive makeup could easily convince people that a decomposing body is fake, right? Well, to burst your bubble, this isn't always a dramatic horror scene from Hollywood flicks. This has actually happened in real life as well. What happened was a woman was attacked in Ohio in 2015. She was left hanging dead on a fence by the roadside. And yes, you've guessed it, most of the passers-by thought that it was just a fake corpse being used as a Halloween decoration when they noticed the body hanging off the chain-linked fence. So no one bothered to report, as they brushed it off, thinking it was just a Halloween prank. It wasn't until the next day when the construction workers, who also thought it to be a Halloween decoration, went to remove it and finally realized it was a real dead body. Finally, the Sentinel. It was in Illinois that the purse of a woman went missing from her home one night. So her boyfriend decided to check the security camera footage to pinpoint where she might have misplaced it. Now, what happens next is going to blow your mind. When they watched the footage, they saw something they never even imagined in their wildest dreams. Their blood ran cold as they saw that an intruder had entered their home that night and he was holding the purse. But the wildest part is that he stood standing over the couple, motionless, and he watched them as they slept for a solid 15 minutes. It was the balcony door that the couple had mistakenly left open. Although nothing was stolen from the house except the purse, the incident will continue to haunt the couple as well as us, considering the fact that the intruder was never caught. That's a wrap for this video. Do you know any such stories? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos like this. See you in the next one.